Hey, it's your boy, Sergeant Hooked on Heroes, hitting you with another review slash recap for Kamen Rider Geats. Uh, Episode 44. I thought this episode was fantastic. The naysayers are being a little silly. Not as many as the people who are positive about it, but the few naysayers, I understand their criticisms, but I feel like it's not that bad. And also, like, every season of Modern Rider does this thing where they kind of do like a story arc rush near the end. It's not nearly as rushed as shit in Revised. Let's just be thankful for that, and come on. But anyway, so coming off last week, we have Daddy Timefire as Gyago finally transforming. He had a really heartfelt conversation with Ace, begging him to be part on his hands and knees, begging to be part of his DGP, to be a rider so he can keep Neon safe. He's realized the error of his ways, realized that, he does love her and that she is a real person and that, he wants to mend their family. And I like this. I like that he's finally having this arc. I do think that it could have happened a little earlier. Maybe they could have shortened some of the stuff with Kyun, and they could have sprinkled more of these things in there to make this arc a little more well-rounded. But I do enjoy it. I'm not as big a fan of the mother's role in all of it, but we'll get to that. So he fights. He transforms into Gyago with the fantasy buckle. It looks awesome. Yes, the helmet is a redo, a kit bash, if you will, of the Seeker helmet, but it looks really good. I love the colors, the purples, the golds, and everything. The magic aesthetic to it. That isn't really what he uses it for, which I think is interesting because we don't really see that a lot, where a buckle operates a little differently depending on the user and their fighting style. Kinda when we saw Buffa use Magnum and he just used the gun to beat the shit out of people with, or he used water and he was just beating the shit out of people with the water gun thing, But overall, it's really cool. It's a pretty decent fight. It's a shorter fight, but he's going up against Akari's killer, and Baraba is able to pretty much take care of Akari's killer, which is cool. When he uses the buckle, like I said, lots of shield and defensive things come up because he's trying to protect Neon because he's a protective father. Whereas things with her are a little different. We'll get to there. Baraba she does kick the shit out of him until Geats is able to come in and kind of save the day. He kicks the shit out of Keikara and is able to kind of push them back, and they leave. She rushes the dad to the hospital where she's met by the mom, who breaks down and gives her a giant hug and tells her that she does, she is sorry for how she treated her, that she treated her like garbage her whole life and like she wasn't good enough, but that wasn't fair, that it was a gift that they could even have a daughter again after Akari's death, and that she is, honored to call her daughter, and that she wants to mend their family, that she wants to make better on what she did, and to, do a lot with the time they have. Very much so feels like, the kind of a quintessential storyline you see in a lot of media, or sometimes in real life. You'll see this kind of thing happen with people where, let's say they have an absent parent of some kind, and then they all of a sudden come back into the picture and they have this big moment where they just want to make the best of the time they still have, kind of a thing. Same thing here. And I like it. Again, I feel more for Kosei than I do for the mother, just because she did slap the shit out of Neon and then didn't really ever apologize or talk about it at all. But I do enjoy it, and I think that if they would have just pulled back, like I said, a little bit more on the stuff with Kyun and had that be a little shortened to give more time to the stuff with the parents, that would have been fine. I also wish that Kosei her dad would have been Daddy Timefire, would have been a bigger part of certain things in different episodes, other than just knowing about the DGP and being a supporter, I guess. But I do like this, that she's allegedly going to probably stay with her family in this timeline instead of going off to the future with Kyun. But anyway, so she rushed to the hospital, of course has the conversation with the mom, switch focus over to Geats, who's talking to Michinaga. Michinaga mentions that he feels guilty and pretty awful for the fact that he killed Keiwa's sister, and that he wants to be the one responsible to bring him back in. Geats is like, that's fine, whatever, but just be careful. He is strong. He's hurting right now. He's not going to think about anything else but defeating you. He really is not going to have any other thought in his head. And Michinaga's fine with this. And I kind of like this with Michinaga because he's honestly one of my favorite characters in the show. Pretty much everybody, the main four are great, but Michinaga's great specifically because he definitely, it's my favorite trope of he comes off like a Vegeta type of character, right? Where Vegeta in Dragon Ball Z, if you don't know, was a pretty intense villain at first. And then when they get to the Frieza arc, he starts to show shades of heroism, shades of not being as evil as we thought, and just more being arrogant, more being kind of petty and kind of weak because he feels weaker than other people. And same thing here with Michinaga. He felt weak when he lost Toru, and so he wanted to win the DGP, to have the strength to defeat all riders. When he finally got that, he kind of saw the error of his ways, kind of saw what that kind of thing wrought, and has tried time and time again to tell Keiwa, I kind of get what you're going through, and I kind of already went through this myself. Like, don't go down the same path I went down. This power is not going to be enough to satisfy you. Because that's kind of the arc of where we're at with Keiwa for the most part, and it's kind of sad. And so he goes to confront Keiwa, and they fight again. It's a pretty decent fight. It's, again, just zombie versus, Bujin Sword, of course. But he does a cool thing in the fight, though, where he uses the revolve on function. He goes to hit Michinaga, and he revolve on. His head goes in his ass, and he turns around or whatever, and has zombie on the feet. He actually gets a couple really good hits in and a strike, too, which I thought was pretty cool. Not enough to defeat Keiwa, but still. But you can see Keiwa beginning to break down somewhat, and they keep repeatedly, Geats and Samus and everybody keeps repeatedly telling him he needs to defeat Geats, and doing so will empower Sumeri and then make her into a full creation goddess. And even she questions him. He tries to get her to grant his wish about bringing his family back because he talks to Geats about it. And she's like, well, you're the one that asked for all the victims to come back. You never made it specific, so clearly people that didn't deserve to come back, awful people are going to come back too. It's kind of your fault. Like a monkey's paw type thing. Almost makes me think that Geats and Sudoru and whoever are like, even though Sumeri or like a creation goddess is making these wishes happen, clearly Mitsume didn't mean for all of the, awfulness to happen from what she did as a creation goddess. But I do think in some ways that the staff kind of like monkey's pawed it. Monkey's paw is basically like, be careful what you wish for, right? Like, oh, I wish my loved one would come back to life, blah, 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 and they come back as a fucking zombie and they want to eat you. You know what I mean? I do enjoy these different bits of the arc we're getting with Keiwa, and it would seem like next week's episode preview shows that like him and Geats having their confrontation, and probably Geats convincing him to not be a doofus anymore, not be an ass anymore. But so I kind of get it with Keiwa, and he actually even says to Michinaga's questioning him after their fight, because he gets his ass beat again because he doesn't have his power up yet, of course. Why he didn't use Command Twin, I don't know, but it wouldn't matter that much. Anyway, so they're talking, and Michinaga questions him and is like, are you really willing to sacrifice the happiness of the end? Like, where is that sap, that goody two-shoes Boy Scout who wanted world happiness? He's like, and then Keiwa basically says, is it too much to ask for my family back instead of happiness for everyone else? And I like this. I like this because I like that it's questioning his initial arc of wanting, like, I just want world happiness and things to be good. And then he starts to see, like, the inner workings / the darkness of the DGP. Here and there is manipulated by Geats and a few other people. It makes sense why he wouldn't just wholeheartedly jump in to trust Geats and want to work with him, And on the flip side, it makes sense why Michinaga, with what he's been through, would see the benefits of working with Geats as opposed to someone like Baraba, Keikara, and Geat, and wanting to work with them to make Sumeri into a new creation goddess against her will. But even she questions him. She's like, are you sure this is what you want? Like, you don't even seem sure of yourself. Why do you keep doing this? So he's starting to question himself, starting to break down a little bit. But anyway, eventually, Neon has a really heartfelt conversation with her dad once he wakes up from, the shock of getting his ass beat. And he tells her how much that he loves her, tells her that he's so proud of her, he's so happy of all the things that she's done, so proud of the things that she's done and accomplished, and that he wants nothing else than her happiness. He wants to be able to protect her, but that he's not sure he can continue doing so, and then he's sorry that he kind of, like, failed in a way, right? And she tells him that it's okay and whatever, but she's like, I am. She's like, but I have to keep fighting. He's like, well, how? She goes, I'm a Kurama. I'm here to protect this world, to keep an eye on it, just like you did. And he gives her his ID core and his driver. And so she leaves and she goes to fight, right? So she has his Gyalgo core and the ID and the Desire driver because Baraba attacks the hospital. He's like, go, it's good. We'll be safe. We're counting on you and we're rooting for you. And so she goes outside. Baraba's out there being a dickhead, shooting her little laser riser, premium Baraba. And she untransforms just to transform again, which is just silly. But of course, Neon tries to entry with Gyago's core doesn't work. And even Baraba's laughing at her, like, how do you think that's not going to work? That's not your core, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, well, I'll make it work. She's like, what do you mean? She goes, because I want to protect this world. I have a wish to protect this world, and I'm going to do it. And she holds it just like Sumuri does. All of a sudden, you see foxtails come up. We'll get to that in a minute. And the ID cord transforms back into her neon, ID cord, just a little bit more golden looking. And she has the fantasy buckle. Throws it on, and we get Kamen. She even says, I am Nia, I am Kramaneon, I am Kamen Rider Nago, I am here to protect this world. Throws the driver on, new henshin pose. And we get fantasy fantasy Nago, and it looks really good. I honestly hope that we get fantasy beat Nago, because I think those colors would mesh really well, and the designs of those would look really good together. But I really like this, and like I said, so the difference between how her powers resonate with the fantasy buckle as opposed to her father's is really interesting. So her father, when he did it as Gyago, it was very protective, lots of shields and things of that nature, right? So when Nago transforms, though, it's a lot of blades, like swords, claws, and stuff like that. She actually is able to go intangible, like a ghost almost, through things. Like she's like intangible through like hits from Baraba, through the like scenery of the environment and stuff like that. She's getting pushed around, as she's like jumping around trying to fight Baraba, and she's beating the piss out of her. And I live for this. I cannot stand how ridiculously annoying Baraba can be. I think she's fine. I think the actress is doing a fantastic job, and it's the point of it is you like love to hate her type of thing. But I cannot wait for her to get absolutely put out of her misery. Oh my god. So she's kicking her ass all over the place. I guess some design stuff came out because they always have like a thing like just after the episode comes out, they interview the producers and stuff. And I guess it said the reason that she's able to kind of do the intangible thing through the environment is actually not because of the fantasy buckle, but because she's a creation of the creation goddess. And so it's like, because she's not really real, so it's like kind of taking control of that ability, sort of. Which seems a little OP, but it's fine. But anyway, so she beats the ever-living piss out of Baraba. Kicks her ass, gets a final strike in. It looks great. I love how the suit looks with like the little cat, mouth teeth right here on the mask. The different accents it puts onto the helmet, along with the like purples and golds and reds and everything else that the fantasy buckle has. It's really cool. And even though it's a retool or like a kit bash, whatever you want to say, of the ninja buckle, ninja. There it is. Let's see if I can. It's like reversed in direction. Yeah, ninja. It looks a lot different. I like it. I don't think it needs to be a premium Bandai thing, especially because it's not a double side buckle. That's really weird to me, too, that Geats 9 is a double-side buckle, Bujin Sword is, but not hers. Just doesn't help them much with the allegations of, like, not giving a shit about female riders and giving them the same, love and respect as they do with the other riders. But anyway, it's a pretty badass fight, lots of really good choreography, lots of attacks with it are very, like, magical, wizard-esque type things. And I really like it. I like it a lot. It's a really cool fight. I like the buckle, and I'm happy that she's back as a rider. She officially tells Geats she wants to rejoin and help him, fight off the Jamato and figure out what's going on with Sumuri and all that. And she tells him, you think I didn't know who created the buckle? And he's like, what do you mean? She goes, I wished for it. You clearly granted that wish. He's like, what do you mean? She goes, well, there were foxtails when I transformed. And he reveals that not only was he granting her wish, but it was strengthened by the wish of her parents. Her parents were also wishing and hoping for her to be successful, for her to be a rider again, and to be able to defeat Baraba. And that's what helped create the buckle and recreate her ID, her core ID again. So I like this because we also end the episode with a little thing, the little DGP rules, saying that intense wishes of the people can help to further the powers of Geats, further Geats' creation powers. So I like that. I like that a lot. That's a really cool thing that he was able to be pushed to, through the strength of a really strong wish to use his powers to finally recreate her core and create the buckle for the first time and let her be a rider again. I think that's really awesome. Overall, I really liked the episode. Like I said, I think that if they would have shortened what we got with the stuff with Kyun and would have added a bit more to stuff with her parents here and there, it would have been fine. I don't hate it as it is, and I'm sure we'll get little things here and there where she's still kind of like having some scenes with them, or she's not like happy right away with them. Like she's cordial and she'll work towards that, but she's not going to be like instantly like, I'm fine, even though you've abused me all my life, you know. But I do like her arc, and I like her with her father, and I hope that there's maybe some V cinema potential where he'll still be able to be a rider at some point. I don't know. I just love the Gyago suit and him transforming in general. But I really like it. And Kayla is now completely focused on wanting to have a one-on-one duel with Geats. And that's what next week's episode is pretty much all about, is him going up against Geats. And I'm assuming Geats nearly defeating him and convincing him to switch sides, because next week also introduces Cross Geats and whoever the other girl is in the summer movie, the 4 Ace whatever thing that's happening, or we're getting like the dark version of Geats 9. Those characters from the movie are going to show up in next week's episode. That means that next week's episode would then lead into the movie, and then after the movie, that next episode following would, you know, have the aftermath of that. Because in the movie, it looks as though Kayla is working with everybody again. So I'm guessing next week is like the resolution to his arc, sort of a thing. But yeah, overall, really enjoyed this week's episode of Geats. If I had to score it, I'd probably give it a 9.5 out of 10, honestly. I probably would have given it more of a perfect score if we had a bit more time with Gyago, and if we would have, if there would have been any inkling of something coming for Buffa as far as his power-up. I really hope there's enough time for that. I really don't know what it's already going to be on episode 45 next week, if that's enough time, but we'll see. But let me know in the comments below, what did you guys think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Were you in the middle? Your favorite moments, what do you think about the Nago fancy buckle suit, Gyago's suit, the fight choreography, her storyline with her parents? Let me know in the comments. Love to see the conversation starting and what you guys have to say about stuff. I really appreciate it. As always, thank you so much for the love, support, the comments, the shares, watching the videos, all that good stuff, subscribing. Absolutely, thank you so much. We're at about 470 subscribers, which is absolute insanity. Thank you. As far as content this week, this review, I'm going to try to get my Shin Ultraman review, because I did watch that with my wife recently, and she actually really enjoyed it. So I'm going to try and get that review up pretty soon. And I might try to work on a few other things. I'm waiting for Secret Invasion to be done, and then I'm going to do an entire series review of Secret Invasion, Marvel Secret Invasion on Disney+. But yeah, so that's going to be kind of the idea for content for the week. But thank you so much, and until next time, you stay hooked on Heroes. I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.